Welcome back everyone to 3D modeling a Hobbit Door scene with Blender 2.9 and Adobe Photoshop. And this is where we left it off. So the next part is, I like the next part, it's really exciting actually, adding materials onto your actual model. So let's do that now. The first material that I want to bring in is just a simple one, just to actually create the metal that goes around this part of the actual bird. So let's work on that first. So the first thing we'll do is actually click on our actual bird, which is this part here. You can hide the glass or what's going to be the glass out of the way if you want to. And there is another way actually to isolate this out. You can press the little question mark on your keyboard and that's then just going to isolate it out. The only problem you will have with isolating things out is it's not a good idea to isolate something out when you're actually working with materials. And the reason for that is because it isolates everything out, including the sun. Now you can get around this, so if I press question mark and I come up and actually shift select my sun as well, and then I press the question mark, and now you'll notice that I've still got a light source here. So I'm just going to click on my bird, I'm going to click the little dot button on the number pad just to zoom in, and now you can see that I've got my light source on, and now I can bring my actual material in. So now I've got it clicked on in object mode. Come over to the right hand side where this little football is. This is the materials tab as we discussed before. And now what we need to do is create our first material. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the little plus button here. I'm going to click new. I'm going to call this stained glass metal. Now, for those of you that have already know what you're doing with materials and things like that, it's up to you whether you bring in a material for this or whether you actually create a procedural material. I'm going to create a procedural material for this so you can actually see how to actually do that. So the first thing though I'm going to do is I need to actually be able to unwrap this. So what we need to do is we need to press tab to go actually into edit mode, and then what I need to do is I need to make sure that I can actually unwrap this. At the moment, if I try and unwrap this, so I'm going to grab it all, I'm going to come up to UV editing, I'm going to just go to my bird now, I'm going to make sure everything's grabbed like it is, and I press U, unwrap, you'll see that it's a bit of a mess. And the reason for that is because we've got a lot of infinite loops on here. In other words, there are loops that are going round in here, and they're actually got no end. You can see that it just goes all the way around with no actual end. So we need to actually sort all those out. So let's do that now. So I'm going to press tab, hide my glass out the way. So I've just got my bird to work with, and then I'm going to systematically go around and add in some actual seams. So if I press tab now, come up to my edge select, and let's do the outside part first. So we'll come to the outside. I want to put a seam down right at the bottom. As you can see, this is going all the way around and it's going to keep trying to loop round, and that is where you get the problems. So I'll quickly show you just on this part. So I'm going to grab the bottom, and to grab anything up to where the actual seams are marked, you just press L and then it won't go past the actual seams. In other words, it'll just grab that island, and that's exactly what I want. And you can see now at the moment, this is what it looks like. And it's done this because it doesn't know where to put a seam, and it's basically an infinite loop, and it just tries to flatten it out. If we come though and we actually put a seam here, so I'm going to grab this edge here, right click, come down, mark seam, come in now, grab it with L, U, unwrap, and now you'll see it's nice and flat and clean. Now you can hide that out of the way, and now let's do the other parts of this. So I'm going to hide them out of the way as I do them. It just makes it much easier, I find, to actually work with. So now let's grab the next one, L, I'm going to press U, unwrap, and there we go. Now this is actually fine unwrapping like this because we've got no bends or anything like that, and it's basically just opening it flat from this front view here, so that's fine. So let's hide that out of the way, and now we'll do the actual bottom, and that will be exactly the same. Now we don't really need the bottom, but I'm just going to leave it on just in case you're coming from the back of the door or something like that. So let's grab this one now with L, press U, unwrap, and let's press H, hide it out of the way. And now you're going to be left with these. So you can see here where all the problems are going to be. So let's do this a little bit at a time. So I'm going to start with this part. This one here you can see runs all the way around here. So let's put another seam in here. Right click, mark seam. Face select, grab this part, L, U, unwrap, hide it out of the way. And now we need to do these two parts here. So same thing again. It's a bit tedious, but once you get the hang of it, you can do 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. So I'm going to do these two first. So I'm going to right click, mark seam. I'm going to grab them both with L, press U, unwrap, and there we go. Hide those out of the way. Now let's come to this part. It's a little bit more complex, so I'm going to grab this one, this one, this one, and I'm just looking where this is. I'm going to grab it here, I think, as well. Right click, mark seam. I'm going to come in and grab these ones now and just make sure that I've got them all. So U, unwrap, and there we go. It doesn't matter which way they're going at the moment, as long as they're unwrapping nice and flat and clean like that. Hide them out of the way. All right, so now let's come to this part here. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to grab it anywhere in the corner here. I'm going to grab this one, this one, this one, and this one. I think that's pretty much all of them. I'm going to come in and grab them all now. So L, and this one, I think, let's have a look. Yep, goes up to there. And I'm going to U, unwrap. And you can see here that we do have a problem. So what you need to do is then just go in and just see where the problem is. So I'm going to grab this one. That one's fine, so I can hide it out of the way. Grab this one. That one's fine. I can hide it out of the way. Let's grab this one. That's fine. Hide it. And let's have a look at this one. I think actually it's this one. I'm going to grab this one. Yeah, this one here, you can see I've not got a seam in there, so mark seam. Grab it again. U, unwrap, hide it out of the way. Now let's grab, I think I've marked a seam on this. Let's have a look. Let's grab one here. Right click, mark seam, grab it all. U, unwrap. There we go. Let's hide that one out of the way. And we're getting down them. Takes a little bit of work, but by the time you finish this, I'm sure you're going to actually understand how seams work. So let's right click, mark seam, grab this one, U, hide it out of the way. And let's come in now and grab this part here. We can see this is perfectly marked with seams and unwrapped. Now let's do the inside of here. And you can see the inside of here is a really actual big part. Now the other thing is, when you're marking seams, try and mark them in places which are very difficult to see in case you get a close-up, because you will see where actual parts of mesh join together based on where the materials join. So for instance, on this one, I'm marking it in the corner here. I don't particularly want to mark a seam going along here because we'll be able to see where it actually joins. So let's come up and mark it in the corner here. Right click, mark seam, grab all of this, press U, unwrap, and there we go. Let's hide that out of the way. And let's do this other big part here. So there's a big part here and a big part here. So let's come in and we'll mark our seam up in that corner there. And we'll also break it up into two parts. So shift select, mark a seam here. Let's grab all of this thing, U, unwrap, H, hide it out of the way. And now let's come down and do these part of the wing. So I'm going to come into the corner here, 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 and here. Right click, mark seam. Let's grab all these now, like so. U, unwrap. Okay, hide them out the way. All right, so let's work on these two parts. So there, and in there. Right click, mark seam. Let's grab them all. U, unwrap. There we go. Now let's look at the parts that we've got left. Let's do these wings and this little wing here. So I'll go up to the top here, marking the seams like so. It doesn't matter if you're not right in the corner, but better if you do put it in there like so. And this one up here, I'll have to come around to the top, right click, mark seam, and let's grab them all. And it is a really good habit just to get into, really taking your time when you're marking your seams, because you're going to save yourself so much work in the long run. A lot of times I've gone in and just tried to do it really fast, and I've found that it just causes more problems in the long run. So it's just better, like I say, to take your time. So I'm just going to come in, mark my seams, right click, like so, hide it out of the way. And for the amount of time it takes just to do this part, in the long run, much quicker just to do it the way I'm doing it. So right click, mark seam. And to be fair, this is the most complex part to actually mark seams. So you've jumped right in at the deep end to actually do this. All right, so let's mark the seams here. And this is also, we're doing this just in case you actually want to bring in your own material and not actually create a procedural material. So unwrap, hide that out of the way. And now let's do this one. So we'll mark it here, Let's go in and mark it on the corner here. So right click, mark seam, L, U, unwrap, hide that out of the way. And finally, the last part, let's mark it at the corners of this because it's quite a big piece. So right click, mark seam, L, U, unwrap. All right, so that should be everything. So let's press Alt H, bring everything back, and you should end up with an absolute mess like this. Now, the best thing to do is grab everything. So A to grab everything, come over to the panel over here. So make sure your mouse is over here. A to grab everything again. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to where it says UV, come down, and you'll have one that says Pack Islands. Click on that, and that'll be nice and clean in the UV map, and that's exactly what you want. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to press Tab, and we're going to go over to our shading panel. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come down to our material, which is this one here. And then I'm going to zoom in. So I'm going to press dot on the number pad just to zoom in to see what I'm looking at. So you can see it's all set up now perfectly. We're ready for the next lesson. Okay, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.